In this video, we're looking at one of Excel's most useful formulas, VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP allows you to search for a value in a table and return information from a different column in the same row. Using the information on screen, if you have a list of products that have unique product IDs, you can use this unique identifier to retrieve all the different pieces of information about the product without searching through the whole list manually. Imagine this on a much larger scale than just the 7 lines I have on screen, and you can start to imagine how useful this can become. Let's see how it works. This example contains a simple product table that includes the ID, name, category, and price of the product. On the right side, I've created a section to use for automatically retrieving different pieces of information. I'll be using VLOOKUP to automate this process by using the unique product ID as the search criteria. The VLOOKUP formula itself works as follows. After typing VLOOKUP and an open paren, you see there are 4 pieces of information you have to include. The lookup value is the unique identifier we are using for our search. Then, after a comma, the table array is the cell references of the full table containing the data we are searching. The column index number tells Excel which column to return. The column numbers are based on how many columns are in your table array, with the first column being number 1. The range lookup tells Excel whether to accept approximate matches of the lookup value or whether you need an exact match to complete the return. The value you insert into this part of the formula is either the word true, which allows for approximate matches, or the word false, which forces the exact match. I'll say at this point that in almost all circumstances, you'll want to type false into this column to force Excel to only accept exact matches. Now let's continue the formula in G2 so that we can see it in action. After the VLOOKUP and the open paren, we start inputting our parameters. The value we're looking for in our search is cell F2, so we put that in here. As I said before, the table array is the cell reference of the full table, so we can either click on cell A2 and drag it down to D8 to select, or we can just manually type that range in separated by a colon. If you type in the range, you'll see that the range will highlight, which gives you confirmation of the range you're using. For the column index number, as our table range is columns A to D, you just have to count in your head the numbers. Column A contains a range we are searching for, so it's unlikely you will ever want this as our return, but if we did, that is always column 1. Column B is index 2, and so on. The index is not directly related to the alphabet number. It's related to your range. So for a quick example, if your table range was columns E to G, then column E would be index 1, F would be 2, and G would be 3. Index 1 is always whatever column is first in your table range. So back to our VLOOKUP formula here. We want to return the product name, and so in our table, the product name is the second column, so we use index number 2. And finally, as I said for the last parameter, we generally want to always force Excel to only return the value if the lookup value finds an exact match, so we put false in here. Now we close it out and we see the result. Now let's drag this formula over to the next column and take a look at what happens. While this appears to have worked, let's click into the new cell and see what it's doing. It has automatically, and unhelpfully in this case, changed the column references to the next columns for everything. You see that our lookup range, which should be F2, has changed to G2, and our entire table range has moved from cells A to D and has become B to E. So now we're going to take a look at a different trick you can use in any formula in Excel. If you are dragging formulas around and you want to force Excel to keep a cell column or row to be the same, you can use the dollar symbol in front of either the column letter or the row number, and it will tell Excel to never change that particular column or cell when it's moving things around. So I'm going to go in and delete this new formula here, and then I'm going to go back to our original formula back in G2. In the lookup value, I'm going to add a dollar symbol in front of the F. And then I'm going to add another dollar symbol in front of the A and in front of the D in the table range. Then I'm going to press enter again. Now, when I drag this over again and then click into the new formula, you see that it just repeats everything. Now I can just change our column index number, the third parameter, to point to the category column, which is the third in the table range, so I'll put a 3. When I press enter, you now see the updates. Now I can drag this over one more time, and then go into this cell and change the index to pull the price, which is the fourth column. And with that, our VLOOKUPs are complete. Now I can go into cell F2 and change our product ID here, and Excel will automatically update the VLOOKUPs to pull data from the updated lookup table. The main limitation of VLOOKUP is that the formula always searches the first column of a selected table range. If the value you are searching for isn't in the first column of your range, VLOOKUP will not work correctly. Another limitation is the information that is returned when VLOOKUP cannot find a match on the lookup value. If I change the value in F2 to P999, you'll notice that all of the formula cells immediately return an error. One answer to both of these limitations is to use the newer XLOOKUP formula. Details on this will be covered in a future video. And that's it for the VLOOKUP formula. You use it whenever you need to search for a unique identifier and return different information from a separate column in a table. If this video has been useful, please consider liking it and subscribing to the channel for more Excel tutorials.